to the worst nightmare of all. Reality.
Explore the lesser-known stories of our unknown world. Join the pursuit of the paranormal with Ash and Greg.
Good evening, Ash. I'm not even going to ask how you are because that's the obvious question.
I've been talking for like half an hour before we started
Yeah,
recording
exactly.
anyway.
Yeah. You doing okay though?
Same question, yeah. Yeah, I'm good. I'm looking forward to our second anniversary
I know. That's
of the
come around
podcast.
very quickly. And we've done, in this last year, I think we've done loads of stuff, which, well, I imagine we'll go through in a bit more detail nearer the time. But we've done loads of stuff compared to what we did in our first year. So, yeah, looking forward to having a chat a bit closer to the time, which is next week.
Yeah, this time next week.
Yeah, I can't believe that's come around so quick. 2 years,
So remember our first anniversary,
and we're
like,
still going.
yeah, close to
still-
200 episodes altogether.
That's insane. That's insane. And we've done like the haunted states. Doing the pub crawl, and something else is going to start this weekend.
It is, and it's not us.
And it's not us. December the 4th, this new show will go out. Do you want to let everybody know?
Yeah, so we have a brand new show starting called Women of the Dark,
Yes.
which is Abigail and Natalie, who are girls that help run UFO Identified with Me and have been guests on the podcast a few times.
Yeah.
They are starting their own show, which will be hosted on our podcast. So you can find it just by looking on our feed. And that'll be the first Sunday of every month, starting this Sunday, like you say, 4th of December. And they're going to be each month talking to like a well-known female voice in the UFO or paranormal field.
Yeah.
So getting their experiences of being a woman in this industry and the sort of troubles and obstacles they've had to overcome to sort of get their name heard in a very male-dominated industry.
It is, yeah. It is a very male, as most of our guests have been male just on our podcast. So it would be good to get the take from the girls, as we'll call them. And like Abigail's came with us to Cannock Chase, so that was good. So she's been out and about with us, and obviously she's out on your nights and all your events. So
yeah. But obviously we're producing the show, so I've listened to the first couple of episodes I got, and really, really good interviews.
cool.
So approaching it with different questions that I've not really heard these guests, well-known guests, being asked before.
Yeah.
So get a different perspective behind the whole thing. So it's really, really good. So yeah, that's starting this Sunday. Women
Awesome.
of the Dark.
Awesome. And check the artwork as well, because the artwork was generated by artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've stepped into that the artwork process.
And we had quite a few, because I sort of like with you, we got quite a few different images together.
Yeah.
So sent them all to both Abby and Nat, and they both straight away said this one resonates with us. Like literally both of them straight away was like, yeah, that one, 100%.
Cool.
So you'll see on the website and on the podcast notes.
Yeah.
The site represents them. It resonates with them. And I think it does as well. Like when I saw it, I thought, I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be between two of them, and they both went for that one straight away. So I was like, yeah, not surprised.
That's cool. Yeah, because there was quite a few different ones as well that we did. So yeah, that's cool. I'm looking forward to hearing that. And like you say, that'll be on the website, and we'll have his own section on the website as well.
Yeah.
Its own page. So
yeah. So apart from like sort of hosting it on our think it's their show.
Yes, yeah,
It's them. I sort of do the editing and upload it, but apart from that,
yeah.
it's
It's
their
them.
show, not
Yeah,
ours.
cool. Yeah, definitely. That'd be good. That'd be good. And it'd be interesting to see what people think of that. And yeah, looking forward to to hearing them chatting away.
Yeah, and not only that, we have got our another little show coming out on the thing starting in December as well.
Why do we do it to ourselves,
I
Ash?
don't know. I don't know. My list of to dos just gets bigger and bigger,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
all fun.
Yes, it is. It is actually. And despite when, although it takes up a lot of time doing these conversations and research and getting guests and editing and uploading, especially if you're on 5 meg broadband at a travel lodge, um, it took a long time to upload an episode. Um, Despite all of that, and even when you're tired, everything like that is all good fun. And it is good fun. And at the end of it, usually it's just like, oh, that was cool. Could have chatted for ages. And we've been guests on 401 Files with Ben. We've been guests on Total Disclosure with Ty. And I was on there last week
Yeah.
with one of the guests on the show, Mike, who's been on with us before. Ben was supposed to be on it from 401 Files. So we've made loads of friends all over the world, and people want to talk to us. We want to talk to them, and it's really cool. And the guys at Dockside Media, I always keep in touch with their stuff, and they're at the cemetery
Yes.
a couple of
that
days
over
ago.
the
I saw that on
weekend,
social
yeah.
media. Yeah, so yeah, we've like this whole new world of people has opened up to us.
And
So
tomorrow we'll be filming, recording with Frank.
yes,
Yeah, for Thinker again for the monthly roundtable. That's be coming out later this week.
yeah, we've been doing that since May. You believe
How
that?
long
May.
it's been?
I know.
Wow.
So I put them up on the website again, under its own section as well, so people can just go straight to those episodes and just listen to them straight off, which is cool. And you can listen just through the website, so you don't even need to go to a podcast player or anything, which is really cool. So yeah, we put all of those up there, put any guest appearances up there. We've just it's just mad. It's just mad. So yeah, we've had fun couple of years and more to come. So yes, new thing. What are we doing?
Oh yeah. So we're going to be doing a show around. So we're going to start off by looking at the sort of some of the monsters that you'll find in the video game Fallout 76, which is one of my favorite video games. I've been playing it for about 4 years now. It's been out. But this game based in West Virginia, and they got like the Flatwoods monster, Grafton monster, Wendigo, Mothman as well.
Mothman, yeah.
All these legends that are in the game. So this series, each month, we're going to be looking at one of the monsters from the game and the history behind it.
Yeah.
Like the true story behind the game character.
Yes.
So the first series is going to be Fallout 76, and then we'll see where that takes us. Might do other video games, other sort of characters, and the true stories behind them, just to give us more work today.
The podcast audio does not convey the almost crying laughter when we're discussing some of these things. But no, it's all good, and I've learned so much about everything since we've been doing this. So it's although we create a lot of work for ourselves, it's fun work, isn't it? It is fun. It's fun.
It is. So that brings us on to today's episode.
Yes, which is
going to be
Haunted Roads.
Yes, part 2.
Revenge of the A666.
Every time I drive down that road, I think I took a picture of part. Take a picture of that road sign. This is A666 near Bolton. Like
it's
the
not
Devil's Highway.
It's not quite the extraterrestrial highway like on the way to Area 51, but
I get campaigns, get like renamed, like get a road sign built saying like Devil's Highway as you come into it. So
Yeah,
add that to the to-do list.
Yeah, add it to the to-do list. What could you call it though? So obviously not extraterrestrial highway. You got the Devil's Highway, but you could also call it the Paranormal Highway.
Road of Terror.
Road of Terror.
I
Put all
don't
the
know.
safety campaigners out there. The Road of Terror.
Yeah, slow down.
Slow down. Yeah,
Keep to
but don't go
40.
too slow, otherwise the ghost will get you. So people going slow, fast, slow, fast. Anyway, we digress. It's quite late in the evening when we're recording this. It's been a long first day of the week.
Yeah, so Haunted Roads.
Haunted
So
Road.
we did this start of the year, I think. We did part one.
I think it might be right.
Quite a while ago, but it proved to be really popular.
Yeah, it was.
Episode.
It was a really popular episode. And I think because a lot of our listeners, so it's around 60% of our listeners are in the UK. So it resonates, I think, a little bit more.
They can recognise the roads and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we're aiming for the pub crawl as well. That as we hit certain pubs, people will go, that's my local pub. So,
which I've been doing because I work in the pub industry.
and
some of the pubs we talked about, I know through my work. So I'm like, I know someone that works at that pub and stuff. So that's been really cool. That's just by chance. Like we started thinking about this before I even got that job.
Yeah, you did. We did. Didn't we? Yeah.
It's just mad. I'm like now recognizing some of these pubs through my job that I'm now researching ghost stories at, which is.
You could release a book based on, for your company, the company's all these pubs from that company, the hauntings. Could push it, Ash.
I'm adding it to the to-do list.
Yeah, at least let me take some kind of percentage of that. Cool. So, what do you want to go first? Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. And I start with a good one because this has got quite a few different stories to it. Because sometimes sort of have like one story on one road, whereas this one has got numerous, like quite a lot.
Okay.
And this is the A15.
No, well,
England. The A15, it runs between Lincoln and Sleaford. It's had more than its fair share of spooky tales, as well as phantom cyclists and ghostly horses running along the road. I'm going to take a bit of a dive into a few stories that are a bit more on the scary side, rather than like a phantom cyclist. So the first one, we'll go to 2016, when there was a family of 3 driving along the A15, heading south from Lincoln on a fine Sunday morning. All of a sudden, they saw a young girl, no more than 8 years old, standing on the side of the road. Described as thin and forlorn, and wearing nothing but a nightgown, this wasn't the most shocking thing about her. She appeared to be transparent.
Oh.
Like a true ghost, where all 3 of the family were able to see through the little girl.
Okay.
All of a sudden, she began to float above the pavement, but she was staying ahead of the car and keeping up with it.
What?
So the car's driving at 30 miles an hour along the A15, and this little girl wearing a night dress that is like her body's completely see-through. He's just floating like alongside the car as they're driving. But they described her movements as a series of short, instantaneous jumps, rather than like a smooth moving pattern.
So she's like glitching.
Yes, kind of like when you talk about TikTok description, TikTok description of where it just appears like to travel miles in like a second. He just jumps. That's how she was appearing, just to 1 second appear like further ahead of the road and next to him.
Weird.
So the family, all 3 of them in the car, kept their eyes on her the whole time. And all of a sudden, she just suddenly vanished into thin air. And that was it. She was gone. So quite. I mean, wouldn't know what to
That's-
think if you saw
What do,
that.
how do you even comprehend something like that?
Like
First of all,
everyone
you
in the
see
car
this,
seeing it, it's
and first of all, this girl's transparent, which in itself is rather odd. She's in a nightdress, and then she starts floating along at the same speed as a car, but glitching. Thus,
because at first you think like you might stop to think like she got lost or something, like she's in a nightdress. But then when you see that, like, she's just see through and sort of traveling at 30 miles an hour.
that's
I mean, like,
weird.
if you're like on your own, you might think, "Oh, I'm a bit tired. I'm seeing flecks of lights or something." But like when all three of the family are seeing the same thing, I think that's a bit weird.
Yeah, that is a bit weird. Yeah,
So
A15, nice.
staying on the A15,
Okay, go on. Yeah.
the next one. This has been dubbed the Ruskington Horror. This sounds pretty scary.
Sounds a
And
bit like a B movie, B horror movie type thing.
This is. I can see why they call it a horror because what happened was pretty creepy. So this bizarre case was actually uncovered in 1998 when the witness Kevin Whelan called into ITV's This Morning to speak about his incredible experience. Side note: ITV This Morning asked me to go on it, talk about UFOs, but I said no because they wanted me to lie, basically. So I didn't go on it.
I know somebody else, one of our friends, that's been on This Morning as well. With
Yes, with his doll.
haunted objects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
So Kevin Whelan, he was driving on the A15 from Lincoln to Sleaford at around 60 miles per hour. As he approached the turnoff for Ruskington, he spotted something floating in front of him. At first, he assumed it was a large white bin bag or something, but when he caught up to it, a face suddenly appeared in the top right-hand corner of the windscreen with what looked like a hand being held up.
What?
So imagine driving, all of a sudden this face just appears in the corner of your windscreen. He described it as Greek looking, like Greek origin, with dark hair and olive green skin, with a pitted face, and its teeth were visible. Kevin carried on driving in fear for around 45 seconds before the face faded away down the side of the car. His wife recounts Kevin coming home crying, panicking, and distraught, and said she'd never seen him so distressed.
Wow.
I mean, I've had some scary instances in my car when I've been driving with like
Dogs.
chihuahuas and phantom chihuahuas and stuff in Rendlesham. But to see a face, I can imagine that being quite scary.
Just a touch.
There's not much you can do apart from carry on driving because you're not going to stop. Like, you're not going to stop at all.
Do speed up. That's the thing. I don't know how you'd react. But then you've got people who witness UFO events and they just sort of carry on as normal, as though nothing's happened. So maybe that you kind of fight or flight takes over and you kind of just go, I'm just going to carry on. I'll just carry on. Typical British.
You try and like ignore it, just like look sort of to the left of your windscreen. Try and, like,
If I
not
can't
looking
see it,
on
it's
that
not
bit.
there.
Yeah, this face isn't looking at me. Right,
I wonder if you put the windscreen wipers on just to see if it.
Oh yes, I'll definitely be on the windscreen wipers. Like,
see if you can smash it off. That's odd.
But then, what would you do if, like, say, the windscreen wipers like actually hit it, and like,
I think that might be even more scary.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's definitely something there then.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, rather than like, I don't know, it's the rain making the shape of a face or something if it's raining.
Yeah, a bit of pareidolia or something like that. Yeah, which it could be. But yeah, if you start smashing into it.
I've also say he described it as Greek looking. It's like a Greek guy. That's quite specific.
It's quite specific. So you must have had a half
quite a
decent look
clear
at it.
image, yeah,
Mm.
rather than like a vague sort of human face.
Mm.
Like that's I don't know Greek. He's from Greece.
Yeah, that is specific. Definitely specific. Wow.
Another little bit staying on the A15. They
Wow.
say there's quite a few from this.
I don't
on
like
this-
that road
this
already.
So this is a little bit shorter. These ones sort of coming a bit thick and fast. So this one's from a driver who saw someone run in front of the vehicle, and being absolutely certain that they had killed or seriously injured somebody, they stopped to get out to help and found that there's nobody at all around. There's no sign of the car being hit or anybody being hit at all. Just nothing. They saw someone out in front of the car, and that was it. There's no one there. Other drivers have reported seeing a white shape that turns into a man who has his arm raised as if to warn drivers about something. After he's been seen, he fades away into a mist.
Oh, bit
Kind of-
creepy.
Yeah, kind of like stood at the side of the road, putting his arm up, type like, "Hey, watch out! There's something coming, something in front of you," and then, yeah, he disappears.
I wonder if there was an accident there at one point, and he was just like, he was like a bystander or something, and it's just felt it's his duty just to
Get people to slow down.
get people to slow down. Yeah, maybe.
Could be. Yes, that's a few of the weird stories from the A15.
Yes. I don't think I will be visiting that for a while. So on to mine. So we've briefly spoken about this particular road near Bath, where there's claimed to have been haunted by a murdered girl. Also, where the birds don't sing. Now we touched on the last one called Sally in the Wood.
Yeah.
So this is a particular road near Bath, or Bath, depending on where you live.
Bath.
And Bath.
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 Gosh.
Bath, where I'm from, it's Bath. Bath. So the road is just outside of Bath and runs between Bathford and Farley Wick. And weirdly, it's one of the world's most haunted locations, where most of the places we love them. Yeah. If it's on this podcast, chances are it's the world's most haunted location, or most haunted asylum in the state, or according to reports, that is.
Yeah.
So it came back into media spotlight a few years ago because of some work that was being done to widen the road, fix the cracks, and undo the damage caused by a landslide. But some who love the supernatural would argue that the landslide and the cracks in the road surface were not just caused by shit road surfacing by the council, or normal forces of nature. There have been claims over the years that the spirit of the murdered girl lives in the area, haunting those who pass by. We touched on this before, so it's only a brief overview of this one. There's also talk of birds in the trees surrounding the road being unable to sing. So not that they're quiet, but they just can't sing. And whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the tales have become so numerous over the years that it's hard not to think of it as having some kind of eerie atmosphere. Apparently, some people refuse to travel along the road at night. People go out seeking poltergeists and ghouls, and they've been theorising about the reputation of the area. And one website, the Ghost Hunt UK, has alleged that 8 deaths have occurred along the road and that 7 of them remain a mystery. So we talked about Sally in the Wood before, so I won't cover that off. Needless to say, check that out on the previous episode. But then we've got some stories. So there's a spooky crash. A young couple may have knocked down a girl dressed in white when she ran from trees across the road in front of their car. This supernatural imagining of the original Sally in the Wood story leaves the question open as to whether the girl was real or whether she was actually the ghost of Sally. Then we've got the Civil War. The part of that the term Sally had also come at that time, meaning a sudden rush out from a besieged place upon the enemy. So in that particular area, there's the war and the clash between those loyal to the king and those backing Oliver Cromwell. That's another theory. Now, another theory for it being a haunted road is the local witch. Sarah Gibson, baptised at Monkton Farley in 1732, married a gamekeeper from Worley Manor in 1762. When her husband died, so the story goes, she was evicted from the cottage where they both lived, and she's said to have inhabited a little hut in nearby woods, and rumours spread about her locally, with some regarding her as the witch. And whoever Sally really was, her name lives on in chilling and gripping tales in a way she probably never imagined. And as I say, this is just a small part of the Sally in the Woods story, and we cover it in a lot more detail in the previous one, but it's definitely a road that deserves a mention because it's one of the world's most haunted locations, according to reports. But it's
a lot going on there. You got the witch and like the Civil War stuff, and obviously we know that sort of places where battles have happened, so you'd have a lot of energy and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. Loads of trauma cause spirits and things to happen. So yeah, a very strange road.
Cool. So staying relatively close to Bath. This is Devon. So that part of the country a little bit.
Yeah, kind of.
A lot closer to it is than I am.
Yes.
So this is the man with the Gladstone bag.
The man with the Gladstone bag. That sounds like a song or a band or something.
Sounds like a James Bond movie.
Yes.
The man with the Gladstone
does.
bag. Maybe that's the next one.
Doesn't sound quite as threatening as a man with a golden gun.
Yeah, it's a new generation. Anyway.
So
this is a similar story to kind of one of the ones that I covered a moment ago, and this is where like a ghost that's been run over numerous times by motorists, but then when they check, there's no one there. So one night in 1989, two friends, Tom and Peter, were driving north across. We're driving north across Woodbury Common in Devon on the B3180 towards Ottery St Mary. As they approached the pub on their left-hand side, the halfway in, a pub that we may cover on our haunted pub crawl.
Maybe.
They watched in horror as a man stepped into the road, right into the path of their car, which was travelling at around 25 miles per hour. The man was clear in the headlights, and both Tom and Peter could see that he was wearing a black top hat and black frock coat, and was carrying a Gladstone bag. The man turned his head to look straight at them, although his normal-looking face seemed a bit blank and unaware that the car was there. Tom, driver, slammed on the brakes, but there was too much momentum, and the car simply went through the man. Both Tom and Peter were convinced that they'd killed someone and got out of the car as soon as it came to a halt. Tom burst into tears. He was that shocked at what had happened. Tentatively, they looked around the car and then under the car, then at the back of the car using torches, but there was nothing to be found. A week later, Peter decided to pay a visit to the halfway inn to talk to the landlord about what happened. The driver, Tom, point blank refused to go with him. Just thought, no, he was too sort of traumatised, convinced he'd hit someone. The landlord confirmed that several other people had had similar experiences over the years. He believed that what had been seen was the ghost of a doctor who had attended a birth at the inn, and upon leaving had stepped out into the road, only to be run over and killed by a horse and carriage.
Well,
So again, another phantom sort of hit and run. Well, hit and miss, I guess, because I don't know what you'd call it. Like, you've hit him, you've hit the ghost. Obviously, you've not hurt him because
no.
unless they hurt him on a different dimension.
Wow, you're opening
Let's
up
not.
a
Yeah, let's
full
not.
rabbit hole there.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, like I say, like they again described the person. It wasn't like, oh, it's like a shadow or a mist of a person. It was describe what he looked like, describe what he was wearing. Quite specific. I mean, I don't know what a Gladstone bag is. Is that a brand or a type of bag? I don't know.
Could be.
Might have to Google that. It seems quite.
Okay, it is. A Gladstone bag is a small portmanteau suitcase built over a rigid frame which could separate into two equal sections. So, you know, old school doctors, they used to have that sort of big leather
Oh,
bag.
that's sort of like opened up.
Yeah, that's it. That's a
Ah.
Gladstone bag, apparently.
Okay. Started fitting in the doctor story.
Yeah, amazing what you can find out on Google. Like, literally, you think a few years ago we'd have been going down the library trying to figure out what a Gladstone bag was.
Oh, it's like a brand, like a Gucci bag or something.
We could go. I don't know if did they have branded bags back in the day? Maybe they did.
They put a Gladstone probably the brand, wasn't it? But they'd be like the only ones that made it. Maybe. Yeah, so like I say, he's quite specific. They saw what he was wearing. His hat, his jacket, his bag.
Do you want to know, just while we're randomly talking about Gladstones?
Yeah.
The name actually comes named after William Gladstone, 1809 to 1898, the 4-time Prime Minister of the UK.
Ah.
Okay.
Was he a doctor? Or...
No, it was just named after him, manufactured by J.G. Beard at his leather shop in the city of Westminster. The patent for an improvement in the frame of travelling bags. So, okay. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's the man with the Gladstone bag coming soon from Warner Brothers or something.
Marvel. Maybe it's a new superhero. But there we go. That is quite a weird story, though, to be fair.
Again, quite specific. Specific details.
Interesting you say about you run over a ghost, you hurt them or whatever. What if, where we talked about interdimensional stuff before, what if it's just a parallel timeline, a parallel universe running alongside us, and they're not a ghost, they're actually, it's almost like that timeline sort of interacting with us. So it's actually a person, but just like in a different. So by running them over in the timeline, they're actually fucking them up in the other timeline, and they can't see it because all of a sudden he's just sort of glitched back, and he's like on the side of the road, and he is underneath a car or whatever. I don't know. Maybe
that's like some hit and runs are like actually cars from a different dimension.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So they did start, but there's not in that timeline.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm going to ring the local police and be like, I've got something to tell you now.
All these unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, got them all.
Got them all. But if you believe, like, parallel universes and, like, everything that's ever happened, like every possible permutation of everything that's already happened and is happening at the same time, then it could be that is something that has happened. You've hit somebody in another timeline, possibly.
Could be.
Anyway, we're going down. There's a haunted road we don't want to go down. So
not yet, anyway.
Not yet. So I am moving us slightly eastwards to sort of the Surrey area, and we're going to look at the infamous A3 ghost crash, near Guildford. Some believe the incident could have been a ghostly replay of a crash that had happened 5 months previous. And it's just under 20 years since one of the oddest incidents ever recorded on the roads of Surrey took place, and to this day still remains unexplained. So it's December the 11th, 2002, so almost 20 years ago next week, basically. Surrey police received a flood of calls from members of the public that a car had lost control and left the A3 around 10 metres before the slip road at Burpham in Guildford. Police arrived at the scene to find no evidence of the newly crashed vehicle at the scene until they looked 20 metres further down the road. There they discovered the wreckage of a maroon Vauxhall Astra nose down in a ditch, completely hidden from a road and any potential passers-by. But this vehicle was not the result of a recent incident, with officers only discovering the remains of a body which had lain undiscovered for the previous 5 months, along with the wrecked Astra.
What?
So a media frenzy greeted the discovery, with some suggesting that the crash all those people had rung in about was in fact a ghostly replay of the incident.
Right, so you've got all these people, they see this crash happen, so they ring the police, multiple people ring the police, emergency services say, just been a car crash. Police get there. And
there is no crash. So there is no crash where everybody says it was, but 20 metres away, just up the road, there is a crashed vehicle.
But it had been there 5 months.
But it had been there 5 months with a body.
Wow.
And it just not been spotted before that, which in itself is quite weird, because you'd think that somebody would be missing, but there might have been. So the police confirmed that the body found at the scene was that of a 21-year-old called Christopher Brian Chandler. He was wanted for robbery and had been on the run from the Met Police since July the 16th that year. So,
right.
5 months beforehand? Police rubbished any talk that this was some sort of paranormal event, adding that the incident was treated as a normal road collision, with the fact the car was obscured by the bush, meaning it wasn't reported sooner.
But the people must have saw something that day.
Mm-hmm.
That's mad, because this one's actually got evidence.
Yep. Yeah, so It gets even weirder. So one person who remembers the day clearly was a guy called Steve Casey, who worked for Mako Recovery Services. So the recovery people, the guys that come out when the police call them and get rid of the cars and pick them up and whatnot. So speaking 10 years after the event, he said that it was an event he would not forget, as he was at the scene to tow the car away and remembers the remains being recovered from the scene. The car was badly damaged, said Mr. Casey. It was written off and rusty, and it was an old car. Someone said afterwards that there might have been a ghost involved, but you aren't told that at the time. I was just getting on with the job. He added the incident still stirs memories when he drives down the A3 near Burpham, saying he thinks about it every time, and nearly 2 decades on, debate still rages about why people heard the noise and why exactly it was reported at the location of a crash 5 months previous. I mean,
wow.
What was it? The guy who crashed, was it his way of post-death trying to get
I'm
somebody?
Here.
Like a signpost.
Yeah,
I'm here. And because he didn't necessarily saw where he specifically went off the road, that's why people saw him at a slightly different point in the road itself. Maybe. But it's weird that all those people phone up and report an incident for the police to rock up and find a car that's been there for 5 months and no other car. It suggests to me it's like a signpost.
Yeah, definitely.
Literally.
Like I say, it's actually got evidence, like the car was there, that body was there, it had been there for months. Like multiple witnesses, and wow.
But I mean, if a body has been sat in a car for months, and that was July, roughly. That's summer.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that you'd be able to tell straight away that that isn't a recent dead body.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the state of it. But yeah, that's quite a cool one. I like that.
That is cool. So I'm going to take us up north, up to not far from my neck of the woods, to Merseyside. And this is the Talking Phantom Hitchhiker.
Ooh.
So this story comes from Dr. Gandhi, who is a writer with the Fortune Times, who's investigated countless tales of so-called phantom hitchhikers, spooks seemingly hell-bent on thumbing a ride. But less than a handful involve talking phantom hitchhikers. And this is one of the most frightening, where the eyewitness genuinely thought they were talking to a real person. Because we've heard of hitchhikers where sort of you see them at the side of the road, you pull over to give them a lift, and no one's there.
Yeah.
And then I think one case last time where they saw the same person again further down the road.
They did, yeah. I remember that one.
Like what the hell? Well, this one's a talking hitchhiker. So this event took place in 1983 when a 27-year-old known as Mr. M was driving along the windswept coastal road between Ainsdale and Southport in Merseyside. This is a road that I've drove on many times.
Really?
So when we have our sky watches
Yeah.
in Southport, so I come across to Manchester, I generally get on the M62 to Liverpool and then go up the coastal road up to Southport and
Right.
go further on to like Formby and that. And it's a really nice road. It's just like you got like dunes, like the sand dunes, and then you got the Irish Sea
Okay.
to the right. So it's like it's a nice drive. It's a nice drive. So yeah, so I was like, yeah, I've been on this road. I like this one. So Mr. M spotted a hitchhiker standing on the side of the road and offered to give him a lift. Dr. Gandhi explains the man was wearing a Parker type coat and was soaking wet and wasn't carrying any bags. He had stubble on his face and dark eyes. And the driver, Mr. M, guessed that he was in his mid-30s. Although his behaviour was normal and calm, he had a troubled expression, which Mr. M put down to him being out in such bad weather. He was quietly spoken with a local Southport accent and asked if he could bring his girlfriend with him into the car, to which Mr. M agreed. Staying on the passenger side of the car, the man then stepped to its rear without making a sound, although the heavy rain was making a lot of noise. Mr. M then realised that the man was nowhere to be seen. He opened the driver's window and saw that there was nobody there. So he stepped out of the car for a couple of seconds, still could not see anybody. It took about 20 seconds for Mr. M to realise that the man had completely disappeared and there was no sign of any girlfriend. The road at that point was edged with high sandhills. There was quite simply nowhere the man could have gone. Which I can attest to because it's literally sort of a 2-lane single carriageway.
Yeah.
It's just like field on one side, and then on the other side you've got the sand dunes and then sort of the ocean. So he's seen him side of the road, stopped to give him a lift, spoken to him. He said, can his girlfriend come as well? And then disappeared. Just
That's weird.
completely gone in the rain. So that's like I say, he's talking, so he has actually spoken to someone, not just seen somebody.
Yeah.
Especially with it being raining, you could, like, especially driving at night, sometimes the road would disappear sometimes, and it's like hard to see where you're going. You could see things, but to actually stop and talk to someone, being a good Samaritan, it's pissing down.
Yeah.
Let's give him a lift. Especially like on that road, there's literally go for miles where there's just nothing. It's just the road and that's it. And then, disappeared. Creepy.
Odd. Yeah. Like you say, the interaction bit's the weird bit where they're talking.
Mm.
You'd think you'd lost your marbles. Because I think if you see, like you say, you see a ghost, again, not very normal thing to happen. But because there's been no real interaction, it's not. not so much of a weird thing, but you actually communicate with the
'Cause
entity.
like you say, when you see something, you can sort of wipe it off as misidentification, or you're just
Yeah,
tired, or you've
yeah,
seen something in the rain or whatever.
yeah.
Which actually, like say, to talk to someone, have that conversation, and then that person's just not there anymore.
That's weird. Proper weird. Okay, so moving on to a Somerset village. So we're kind of back down sort of Devon area. So there's a tiny village called Sea, which is between Ilminster and Chard for anybody who's fluent in the area. So there's a haunting by a ghost horse, according to an old book. So people travelling at night through the tiny village of Sea have been confronted with a spooky four-legged spectre. The book, which details this, was published in 1974 and was written by Rodney Legg, Mary Collier, and Tom Perrott. And it recalls how people have come across a horse ghost which has risen from the road, then galloped away, disappearing through a closed gate. I mean, that's pretty weird anyway. The old book claims it is more than just another book on folklore. It's serious work which amasses evidence that physical phenomena are a deserving cause for a more intelligent reaction than the usual skeptical amusement. The book tells of how two engineers both saw the ghost in the village when travelling home from a job at night. One of the people said, "I don't tell this story too often. In fact, neither of us does, because some people just won't believe that kind of thing. They poo-poo it." Who says poo-poo it? And say that you're making it up. But when you've met something yourself, you do believe it. And I think that's something that we've discussed before, that
Yeah.
people, till you have that experience, people are quite quick to go, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as ghosts. I'm going to poo-poo that idea.
Poo-poo.
Not, the last time I heard somebody say poo-poo an idea was in Blackadder. Great program.
But it is quite an old story. 50 years.
Yeah. So there was no imagination at all with either of us. We both saw it at the same moment and both reacted in the same way. You see, at first we didn't realise we'd been looking at a ghost. There was nothing to make us think it was one. Neither of us will ever forget it for as long as we live. So it goes on to say that the man who lived in Tytherley, just over the Somerset border, recalls how the pair had been working late on a call out in Somerton and had been travelling back to Devon by car. The man recalls, "Our road was through Martock and Ilminster, then Chard and home to Tytherley. I forget now whether or not it was a moonlight. Actually, I don't think it was, but I do remember it was a clear night. It was late summer, and there was not a speck of haze or mist of any kind anywhere," which is another thing, because you think in the summer you get that miragey kind of haze and quite easy to see things at a distance, like the reflections. But it's important because there's no question that we thought we saw something in the mist. There wasn't any mist, and we had good, strong headlights. So between Ilminster and Chard, there's a place called Sea, as we mentioned, and on the side of the road, there's a building called the Rope Factory, and it was there we saw a grey horse rise up out of the middle of the road. No rider, no reins, no saddle or anything of that kind, and a mare or stallion we didn't notice. But we both noticed its mane was flying as if it was galloping along at speed. It galloped down the road ahead of us for quite some way and then turned off the road and galloped through a closed gate, and a stakey gate at that. Now, I'm not too sure what a stakey gate is, but they said there's no question about the two of us not seeing it at the same time. The other chap was driving, and I heard him take his foot off the accelerator. And the man tells of how the sight had startled the pair, who thought for a moment that they'd run the horse over. He said, "We both watched it gallop through the gate, and neither of us had to tell the other that no horse could possibly gallop through a closed gate without injury. Past the gate, we pulled up and turned back. The least we could do is find out what had happened to it. Perhaps we'd have to fetch somebody. But there was no horse there. There was no sign of damage to the gate itself, and no sign of a horse in the field. There was not a sign of a horse of any kind anywhere. We just stood and looked at each other," and they put, "I won't repeat what we said because it wasn't too polite. You see, we both knew for certain that we'd just seen a ghost." The man explained that he learned more about the creepy local legend the next day after telling his boss about the experience. His boss said, "Oh yes, that's a well-known story, the ghostly horse at sea. Quite a few people have seen it, and it always just the same as you two saw it, same place, and it does the same things you saw. It always rises up from the road, riderless, mane flying, and then it gallops off down the road and through a closed gate and then disappears. You two saw a ghost right enough." The engineer had thought as to where the ghost may have originated from. He said it could have some connection with the Battle of Sedgemoor. And that's what I myself rather think, he says. And yes, it would be on a route anyone in flight going eastwards from there would have likely taken and dropping down into Devon or West Dorset. It may have belonged to one of Monmouth's followers, someone, say, who lived down there trying to get home. It's quite a strange ghost horse as well. I mean, we get, like, you've got children floating alongside, you get passengers and hitchhikers, but never normally a ghost. And it's like like the stone tape theory, where it's just replaying the same
over
thing.
and over.
No interaction. Yeah.
I know you're a horse guy, obviously.
Yeah, and if it's the size of some of the horses that are around, there's some big horses. So I think if you thought you'd hit a horse, you would know if you hit a horse, even a small horse. Like a small horse can still weigh like 200-300 kilos.
Yeah.
And if you hit one in your car, you would definitely know about it.
For sure.
But seeing one go through a gate, that'd be weird. And there'd be no damage.
I've seen it come out the road, like rising from the road, like emerging, and just
Very odd.
That's mad. On its own as well, like no rider,
Yeah.
just a horse and nothing else.
Yeah. And if it's the same story that other people have said as well, it kind of lends weight to the fact that you're just relaying a piece of information that other people have done the exact same bits of information.
Cool. So you just had a ghost horse. I'm going to take it to the next level.
Cool.
In fact, in the part one we did this earlier in the year, I think we had like a phantom lorry.
Yeah, we did.
Something similar.
It was a phantom lorry.
I'm going to take it one next level again. And this is going to Shropshire on the A442. And this is the Phantom Concorde. So I suppose not technically on the road. It's flying above the road, obviously. But yeah, so the Phantom Concorde. So obviously the Concorde, most people know, supersonic plane. It flew commercially between 1975 and 2003. And this case, which is both strange and unsolved, describes how a family of startled eyewitnesses claimed to have seen Concorde flying alongside them just 10 to 15 feet off the ground, having seemingly taken off from a random farmer's field.
What the hell?
So can you imagine just driving on the road, there's like a Concorde just flying alongside you. So this was late August 1975 on the A442 near Bridgenorth in Shropshire. The aircraft disappeared from view behind hedges and trees as the eyewitnesses continued up the road and was then nowhere to be seen. There were no nearby air shows at the time, no airstrips in the vicinity that were especially capable of accommodating Concorde. I mean,
What?
how do you, I mean,
There'll
how
be
I don't even comprehend that.
there'll be young people that won't necessarily know exactly what Concorde is. I would definitely Google it.
Yeah, it's quite a
And
distinctive shape.
if you've been to Heathrow maybe or Gatwick, one of the two airports, there is a Concorde on like the entrance as you come in the
Manchester's got
car,
one as well.
and they're actually quite a small plane. They're not like a jumbo or anything like that because they were built like it's like £10,000 just to go to New York on it, and you would get there in like 3 hours or something ridiculous
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
so it's a supersonic plane. It broke the sound barrier.
Yeah,
Like they got to New York in like 3 hours. It was built
yeah,
basically for business people to get to meetings quicker
quick.
and back.
Yeah. It's uh, and you're seeing that quite just taken off.
Like, the most distinctive part of the Concorde is the nose, the tip.
Yeah,
It goes very, very sort of
pointy.
pointy, and then the wings is like it's different to what you'd see in a normal passenger.
You don't see
Passenger
any other
helicopter.
plane like Concorde.
No.
It's
So I mean, could this Concorde in Shropshire been like a premonition of the Air France flight 4590, which was the Concorde which crashed in 2000?
yeah,
It sort of led to the Concorde coming out of business. It was already losing
yeah,
money anyway, wasn't it? And then
yeah,
it had to
yeah,
crash, and they
yeah.
just
It took
stopped
off in
using it.
flames and crashed, and it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, that's I didn't expect. I thought you might have gone like a plane, but not specific as well. That Concorde is specific.
yeah, it could have been like especially like with sort of when you have small runways, you can have sort of small planes, two propeller planes and stuff like you
Yeah.
see, like the little planes. But to see a Concorde
Mm.
is a bit different.
Yeah, and I think back then as well, you would know that that would be something out of the ordinary. Even back in the early days, that was a hell of a looking plane.
There's a whole family that saw it. Again, not just one person; it was multiple witnesses. And to be so low to the floor as well, like
What's that all about?
like even if it had just took off, it's not going to be 15 feet off the floor.
No,
It's going to be much higher and much faster. And like
much faster.
it'd have gone. Like
Yeah, that's it. That's the other thing. It's like I don't even know how you'd explain that one. It's just weird, just weird. Like you say, that's a supersonic plane. That's not just some little propellered bloody state of the art. Wow. Okay. Maybe that was one of the first incarnations of a UFO.
could be.
Could be. Cool. So I've got my last one coming up now, which is called the Scotter Road Spectre in Humberside.
Cool.
I said that slightly slower so I could say it without ruining and spitting it out wrong. So, when it comes to terrifying phantoms, there's surely nothing as unsettling, apart from seeing a Concorde or a galloping horse or something, as seeing a 12-foot tall monk marauding down the road on a wet
That would
stormy
be pretty creepy. 12 foot tall.
night.
Wow.
Twice sort of like a tall bloke anyway, a 6 foot, twice that.
Wow.
That's a bit crazy. But that's precisely what happened to 20-year-old Katie, we'll call her Katie, back in 1999 when she was living at home in Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire. So there's a guy called Dr. Gandhi, and he says that Katie and her mum Catherine were looking out of an upstairs window when their eyes were drawn to a strange figure ambling down nearby Scotter Road. And the doctor says together they watched what looked like a monk coming up from their right. The hood was stood up to a point which was surprising given the heavy rain, but they couldn't quite see his face because of the angle. However, what really flummoxed Katie and her mum was the fact that the monk appeared to be 12 to 15 feet tall.
How to say flummoxed?
Flummoxed.
That's a word you don't hear.
You don't hear that very often. Flummoxed.
I
It's a good word.
and I
Poo-pooed
got
and flummoxed.
Anyway.
Flummoxed is a great word. Flummoxed is a great word. Katie tried to dismiss the encounter as an idiot in a weird fancy dress, but Mum Catherine watched in terror as the figure completely disappeared. The doctor added, "Neither Katie nor Catherine have broadcast their experience to others, but over the years they've overheard people with related stories. One involved a worker driving on the same stretch of road and seeing a monk in the road. He slammed on his brakes and thought they had run over the figure. He stopped and looked, but found there was nothing there, which really shook him up." Now, that's something that seems to ring true on a lot of them.
Yeah.
The people claim to have hit something, but there's nothing there. And I think if you'd hit like a horse, you'd know about it. You hit a 12 to 15
Foot
foot
monk.
tall monk, it's probably got to be a decent size to him.
Hmm.
You'd think you'd know whether you hit him or not. But what a weird thing to. What?
Yeah, especially like say multiple witnesses
Yeah.
sits on the same stretch of road.
And the fact that these two, the mum and daughter, hadn't outwardly spoken about their story, but had heard other people recalling similar events. That's weird. That is weird. So that was the Scotter Road Spectre. It was a short one, but quite possibly terrifying one. So, yeah.
How different some of these things are, but all sort of obviously paranormal and weird and creepy, and like from seeing a Concorde to seeing a 12-foot monk or a face on your window, and
That looks
multiple
like a
people
Greek
knocking
man.
people over, but like
Mhm.
no one being there.
Ghost girls flying alongside a car. It's like completely. They're all non-related type of, like where we've talked about poltergeists. There's like a typical kind of behaviour that seems to happen and an escalation, but from like knock-ins right up to like physical harm. And UFOs tend to be people have multiple experiences potentially like throughout their life of where they've seen UFOs or had terrifying ordeals.
Yeah.
But these ghosts on the road seem to be one-off events. But a lot of the time, one-off events that are witnessed by multiple people, but it's a one-off event for multiple different people. So it only ever happens sort of once.
Yeah.
But everybody recalls the same experience.
I mean that ghost crash.
Hmm.
I mean,
That's weird.
multiple witnesses. You've got the actual evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Witness of the guy that was towing the car.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Police
crazy.
reports from that night of all the witnesses phoning in, not just going, "Oh yeah, I saw that the other day." They're all calling in an accident, and it's only when the police turn up that they find this dead body in a crashed car that happened 5 months before.
That's
That's
awesome.
weird. That's a really good case that sort of there's evidence, there's police involvement, so there's a report, you've got recovery people who've seen the dead body in the car. That's almost as good a kind of evidence gathering as you could get.
Yeah, so like in the field where there's very, very little tangible
Yeah.
evidence, to have that is pretty big.
Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't a crash, you could understand if it was a crash that had happened and there was a car, then it may have been people's timing slightly out, so they thought it had happened at 9 and it was like at 8 or something. This is like 5 months previous, and they'll be able to tell how long that body's been dead for due to the decomposition.
Yeah.
And the guy said there was rust on the car, so it couldn't have just happened. Weird. I think that's, I don't know, favourites a good choice of word, but that is.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one. The absolute terrifying one is the face on the windscreen. The Greek person on the windscreen. And like you say, do you just sort of like look over to the side and just pretend it's not there and just hoping it will go away? Put windscreen wipers on the floor, whack it off.
Speeding up but watching out for speed cameras at the same time.
Yeah.
Is that going to hold up in court if you try and contest the speed camera getting you?
There was a man's face on my windscreen, and I had to accelerate to like 90 miles an hour before he went.
I wish I had dash cam footage. That'd have been good.
Yeah.
I suppose a lot of these, they are quite old. There's nothing. I think the newest one of mine was 2016.
Yeah, 2002 was my.
So I mean, 2016 there was probably some early dash cams.
Yeah.
Not really quite as there is now, but there would have been some. So it'd be good to have it now. I think a lot of people have dash cams now. Would capture some of these things, which would be good.
But then some people have dash cams, Ash, and still don't capture the moment. They capture the moment after.
Very true.
But the fact that it was caught the moment after and you can hear.
The only reason I don't have it is because it was a 7-hour drive back and it wiped over all the footage. If I'd got all the footage straight away, I'd have had it. Because it's a 7-hour drive, it had written over it. Apart from the moment after, which is saved when I pressed the button. That's good.
I wasn't specifically talking about a particular incident.
Yeah. I wish I had my dash cam. The only reason why I got a dash cam, I've been wanting one for ages, just because driving in Wythenshawe is just dangerous. And then I saw the black cat sighting, the large black cat sighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely good. I didn't have my dash cam. So I've been talking about getting one for months. Hadn't got one. And I see a black cat, a large giant cat, like panther type something, that would have been on my dash cam. I literally went out Amazon at night and bought the one I've got now. But if I'd have caught that on camera, me black large cat sighting, it would have been good.
Famous. More famous.
Maybe. I got on Angry People and local newspapers page.
Oh, yeah.
They always like the big cat stories on there.
Yeah, they do. And then you just have your like sad face. Everybody's always got their like sad face.
A pointy face.
Cool. So that was Haunted Roads Part 2. Some of which we covered off, like the Sally in the Wood bit, but it's always good to refresh.
Yeah, there's some really interesting ones there. I like that.
Concorde, definitely weird. And like I say, if you haven't heard of Concorde, some people probably haven't, the younger listeners, check it out. It's quite a distinctive craft, for want of a better phrase.
Yep.
Awesome, Ash. Awesome. So
we've got lots coming up this next week. Friday we'll have our UAP roundtable.
Yes.
For November. Saturday we'll have another episode of Haunted Pub Crawl.
Yes.
And then Sunday we'll have the first episode of Women in the Dark with Abby and
Yeah.
Nat. And
Yeah.
then Tuesday we'll have our 2-year anniversary episode.
Oh, my goodness me. We're going to be busy.
It's a busy week.
It's going to be a busy week. But a good week. It's a good week. And as you can see, I'm back in my normal recording studio area. For now, anyway.
Good.
But yeah, cool. Okay, Ash. Well, as always, been a pleasure to catch up about the roads and paranormal.
Yeah.
And if anybody's got any roads they want us to look at, any pubs you think we might be interested in talking about, or anything paranormal or UFO related,
Yeah. Drop
give
us
us
a
a bell.
line.
Yeah, contact
Check
us
out the
from
website.
Yeah, the website's doing really well. You can get latest merch up there. If you're into Flat Earth, there's a Flat Earth Society t-shirt up there. If anybody's interested. Yeah. New designs coming up in the merch store regularly. So
Yeah, good
give
stuff.
us a little tinkle. Yeah. Lovely.
Nice one. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Pursuit of the Paranormal with Ash and Greg.